Today we are talking braid. So guys, braid is a fiber that is twisted together in a sequence to form what you know as braid. So you get different types of braids. You get a 4-strand braid, you get an 8-strand braid. I've seen 12-strand braids. I'm a firm believer in using an 8-strand braid. It is just a lot smoother. The 4-strand braid is a little bit more coarse. It's a little bit more rough in the fingers when you feel it. So if you can see there, it is basically a fiber that they twist together to form what you know as braid. So the uses for braid, guys, as you can see here, my bass reel is spooled up with braid. I use braid for my bass fishing. The reason is because it is so direct. There is literally no stretch in braid. So all your bites, all your finesse fishing is a very, very direct, in contact with the fish. So you can feel every rock, every bump, every piece of snag that you have under the water. You can feel it on your braid. So that is why I use my braid for bass fishing. I love using braid for bass fishing. And not only that, the diameter of the line is much thinner than it is with mono. Just to give you an example, a 10-pound braid is 0.12 and a 10-pound monofilament is 0.25. So that is a big difference in the spectrum, which means you can make further casts and also feel that direct contact with the bottom with your lure. And that is the main reason I use it for bass fishing, is that long casting, so you can get it out there a long way and that you can feel your fish directly when it takes the bait. So that is the main reasons that I use braid for my bass fishing. So the other use for braid that I use it for is when we go specimen fishing, guys. So because of the directness, the low stretch of the braid, you can go out much further, and because of the thinner diameter line, you can get much more line on your spool. So where you will normally get 500 or 600 meters on a spool of mono, you can now put a kilometer of line on of the same breaking strain on your reel, which means you can get to those hard to reach places when you need to go in search of the carp and they are a long way out. If you're on a particular bank that you cannot get to them, then you need your braided spools to get out there. And because there is a low stretch on the line, you pick up your bite indication is just that much faster. Because the mono has a lot of stretch in it, that has a bow in it because you took it out with the boat. There's a lot of line in the water. Because of the stretch of the mono, you sometimes miss bites because of the time it takes for you to register a bite, and that makes the braid great, guys. So for long distance fishing, we use braid to get it out where we need to, and that bite indication is instant. So there we go, guys. We also use it in specimen fishing. And not only that, guys, if we tie hairs, if you can see it there, the bait is hanging underneath the hook there. The braid is nice and supple, so you can make little hairs with it under your hook to put on your baits that we use in specimen fishing. And that's also what we use the braid for. And then you also get in specimen fishing, you get different types of braid. You get coated braid, uncoated braid, sinking braid. Because they use a sinking braid in specimen fishing, braid tends to float. It is a floatant line. It has a very high dense. It does not break the water surface, except if you go to your thicker lines that they make heavier, then it will sink a little bit. But normally braid likes to float. So in specimen fishing, we use braid to take our baits out a long way for better bite indication, and we also use it to tie our hook baits onto the hook, that it sits nice and tightly underneath your hook. So that is braid uses in specimen fishing. So on the bank angling side of things, on the SAFBAF rules, when we are fishing a tournament, we are not allowed to use braid. I'm not quite sure why. It's just one of the rules. But in feeder fishing, you are allowed to use braid to make leaders. If we do spomming and marker floating for the specimen side, we use braid. Because of the thinner diameter and the low stretch, you cast much further and you load your rod much better because of the low stretch. It puts a lot more bend in your rod. So that's the other uses that we have for braid. For spomming, the feeder fisher guys I know is allowed to use it to make leaders of it, but we are not allowed to use braid under the SAFPAF rules when we are doing bank angling. So we are not allowed to use it there. So guys, that is braid in a nutshell. Thin diameter, super strong. You can cast a long way with it. And it is floatant, so when you need to pin it down to the bottom, you might need to put on a little bit of extra weight on it to pin it down to the bottom. But the main reasons braid is fantastic to use: low stretch, super strong, super far casting, and that is why we use braid.